We're a year and a half after you sold the company, but we'll get bogged down. Let's talk politics.
Mehdi, that's dead wrong, and I would sorry to say you're embarrassing yourself in front of anybody who knows anything about biotech for knowing that phase 3 trials are the final stage.
Okay.
The final stage, the FDA phase 3 studies succeeded. So you're barking up the wrong tree.
In this intense debate, Vivek Ramaswamy faces off against MSNBC host Mehdi Hasan in what quickly becomes a masterclass on handling aggressive media. Questioning Hasan dives into a series of contentious topics from Ramaswamy's business dealings in biotech and accusations of financial opportunism to his stance on election integrity and past criticisms of Donald Trump throughout the exchange. Ramaswamy did notably deflects Hasan's pointed questions but also challenges the interview's premise, turning the debate into a demonstration of composure and control. This video breaks down how Ramaswamy's skill navigates each question, stays grounded, and reframes the conversation, underscoring his readiness to face the media and his critics head-on. Take a look so you can talk.
You talk about your business background. Let's talk about that. You made your name and made a lot of your early big money from pushing an Alzheimer's drug that had already failed 4 clinical trials when you bought it. You then talked it up on CNBC, in Forbes, on the cover. Your company's subsidiary shot up by billions in value when it went public in 2015. But then the drug failed its phase 3 trial on your watch. The company lost 75% of its value in a single day. Ordinary investors like the California State Teachers Pension Fund lost hundreds of thousands of dollars. But you cashed out beforehand via your parent company to the tune of, I believe, over $37 million. Your critics say it's a classic pump and dump scheme. What do you say to them?
Yeah, Mehdi, that's the standard opposition research during politics reading line. Anybody in the biotech industry knows this story very well. 99.7% of Alzheimer's drugs have failed. That's thousands of drugs. Mine was one of them. But the company I founded, Roivant, developed a range of medicines. And the way I made my money was not through the failure of that Alzheimer's drug. This is one of the pieces of misinformation from opposition research. I could have sold shares in that subsidiary Alzheimer's company, but didn't. So the person who was hurt by that was me.
Hold on. But you say this a lot, but you did sell shares in Roivant, and you made $37 million.
And Mehdi,
$37 million.
Mehdi, I think you owe it to your audience. Mehdi, I think you owe it to your audience to be accurate. That is shares in a different company, not Axovant. And those shares that I sold are worth, and those shares are worth dramatically more today. So I would have made more money.
In the debate, Hasan questions Ramaswamy's financial success in the biotech industry, focusing on his role in promoting an Alzheimer's drug that ultimately failed in clinical trials. Hasan suggests that Ramaswamy the company profited before the drugs failure became public, resulting in losses for ordinary investors. Ramaswamy counters this claim by explaining that high failure rates are common in the biotech field, underscoring that he did not personally profit from the drug's failure. He further defends his career by hiding his company's development of multiple FDA-approved drugs, arguing that his success is based on genuine innovation and high-stakes risk-taking rather than any exploitation of investors. Deftly countered Hasan's accusations by delving into the complexities of the biotech industry, noting that the losses from the Alzheimer's drug affected him as much as other investors because he retained ownership rather than cashing out early. He accused Hasan of oversimplifying the situation, casting his criticism as a typical opposition research tactic aimed at discrediting him. Ramaswamy further asserted that Hasan's understanding of the biotech process was superficial, arguing that such criticism failed to
allow you to know how I made my money. Developed 5 FDA-approved therapies that are now FDA-approved today.
After you sold
one of them is a life-saving therapy in kids.
When you were CEO,
another one, they were FDA. Actually, over the time that I developed them, we took them all the way through phase 3, and then we did a $3 billion deal that actually
they were approved a year and a half later after you sold the company.
Yeah, so Mehdi, I'm not going to fault you for not knowing the first thing about biotech because that's not your job. But getting through phase 3 is the final stage of clinical testing before you hand in the application. Yes, my company did a $3 billion deal that actually did make money for those shareholders. And so, yes, I have built Roivant's a publicly traded company, nearly $10 billion public company today that I built as the sole founder from scratch as one of several companies that I've built. So, yes, I have a business record that I'm proud of. Our success rate under my watch was higher than probably nearly 99.9% of biotech startups in the last decade. So yeah, I stand by that record. I'm not afraid of taking risks. That's part of the American spirit.
Well, technically, the successes were a year and a half after you sold the company, but we'll get bogged down. Let's talk politics.
Mehdi, that's dead wrong, and I would sorry to say you're embarrassing yourself in front of anybody who knows anything about biotech for knowing that phase 3 trials are the final stage.
Okay.
The final stage, the FDA phase 3 studies succeeded. So you're barking up the wrong tree.
The debate turned to Ramaswamy. Stance on the integrity of the 2020 election and what he would do if he weren't former Vice President Mike Pence's.
Joint session was not a legislative
that's still
session.
ambitious.
The Vice President doesn't have the power to introduce legislation. Neither party would have backed such a bill.
Oh, come on,
it couldn't have been passed in a day.
The fact of the matter is,
naive stuff.
The president, the president and vice president absolutely drive legislation through Congress. That is exactly how things work.
Trump wasn't doing legislation.
Now,
he was busy pushing the big lie, as you pointed out yourself in your books.
Well,
so he wasn't there.
I wasn't the vice president of the United States. Passed a bill, and I was not the vice president of the United States. You guys in the media, you guys in the MSNBC crack me up to sort of create a hypothetical situation to say, if you had been vice president, what would you have been doing? I'm telling you exactly what I've been doing, but you're saying, but that's not what Donald Trump was doing. This is a joke. Let's actually have a substantive conversation. Do you want to have a substantive conversation about what should have happened, or do you want to play a game of gotcha? Because you have the choice. The choice is yours. Do you actually want to have a substantive conversation? If you do, I'm down to do it. Do you want a substantive conversation? What we need.
You said substantive 4 times.
Actually, if you want to get a word in, you know, if you're going to speak the truth and ask a legitimate question, have at it.
I think it is a legitimate question. Multiple people wondered about your knowledge of how Congress works, suggesting Mike Pence, by the way, on the debate stage, asked you if you would have supported what he did. It's not an MSNBC question. It's a Republican vice president question.
Yes.
So fine, you don't want to answer it.
What I'm saying is it was a missed opportunity for heroism, not in one day, but I think that in a period of 2 months. And I think you're a smart guy. You understand this.
It couldn't have been done in a lame duck
There's
Congress,
an American
Vivek. You're a smart guy. It couldn't have been done in 2 months.
I think under extraordinary circumstances, in extraordinary times, we have an American Confidence in Elections Act. It's literally making its way through Congress now. ACE. I support it. I think if we had gotten that done during that window, further we said single-day voting on Election Day as a national holiday.
And Mitch McConnell wouldn't have agreed to a national holiday.
Democrats should agree to it.
We can argue forever.
I think Democrats should agree to it.
That's a different
argument. That's what I stand for. I think we're still going to get that done when I'm the president.
Okay.
When I'm the president, not in some fantasy land where I was vice president in some other year in the historical history.
Let's talk about you as president.
What I'm running for,
Understood.
This is what we're going to do.
Let me ask a question so we don't run out of time. Please don't filibuster. I just want to ask a question.
Hassan pressed him on whether he would certify the election results, seeking to clarify Ramaswamy's views on the aftermath of the election and the events of January 6th. Ramaswamy responded by asserting that if he were in Pence's shoes, he would push for significant election reforms such as same-day voting paper ballots and requiring government-issue identification before certifying results. He explained that his approach would be aimed at restoring confidence in the integrity of the election rather than validating any claims of widespread fraud. Through this response, Ramaswamy shifted the focus from the controversial allegations to his vision for improving the electoral process, positioning himself as a candidate focused on long-term structural reforms rather than partisan disputes.
Crystal clear between George Bush, Barack Obama, Joe Biden, and Donald Trump. Those are the presidents of the 21st century. Donald Trump is unambiguously, as judged by the results, the best president of the 21st century. Kept us out of wars, grew the economy. I give him full credit for that. I want to build on that foundation and take this country to the next level.
But you've also called him a sore loser who is a danger to democracy. Those are strong words.
Would I have made the same judgments that he has made at every step of the way? No. I will remind you that I am running for U.S. president because I am best positioned to lead this country forward.
Can I ask you what they are, Vivek? Yes. You say he behaved in downright abhorrent behavior that makes him a danger to democracy. What was it that was downright? Tell me what he did that was downright abhorrent.
Let's actually be really fair to your audience. So on January 10th, 2021, thereabouts, days after that incident, I wrote an op-ed in the Wall Street Journal arguing that censorship was the real cause of what happened on January 6th. When asked in response, somebody asked me the question, are you That's what I wrote. I'm giving you the facts of what I said. That's a hard fact. That was published in the Wall Street Journal. When pressed on, was that condoning what Trump did? My answer was no. There's a difference between a bad judgment and a crime.
And
we
you're
need
avoiding
to
my
be
question.
able to tell the difference in this country.
What did Donald Trump do,
no, I'm not avoiding
in your view, that was downright abhorrent? Second time I
think that the thing that I would have done differently if I were in his shoes
not what I asked,
is I would have declared re-election on January 7th.
I'll ask it a third time.
That's exactly the thing I would have done.
What did Trump do that was egregious, quote, downright abhorrent, and a danger to democracy? Can you just explain to our viewers? Your words.
So you're mixing two different quotes. But what did I think was reprehensible about what happened that day? Look, I think that the way a true leader should have handled that situation should have been to actually say, this is me running for re-election, not actually litigating what is already passed and behind us. And I would have done things differently. That is not a crime, though, what he did.
I understand.
And the reason I have been so vehement.
You keep saying what you would have done. I just want to hear from your mouth. No,
I would not,
unless you're scared of him, why won't you say what he did that was downright abhorrent?
I'm not going to let you you're stitching together three things from three different places to create a caricature. Do you want to have an actual conversation?
Yes, I want you to answer my. It's on screen.
I think
what did he do that was downright abhorrent?
I believe that failing to unite this country falls short of what a true leader ought to do. That is why I'm in this race, is to do things differently than any prior president has done them. That's the hard truth, okay?
And that's what made him a sore loser and abhorrent.
The media
yes, your word.
Well, the reality is none of that is a crime. And the reason I have been so vocal, the reason I have been so vocal is because when somebody actually prosecutes somebody for a bad judgment, and I've been clear,
I understand your objections to the litigation.
I would have made different judgments.
That's not what I asked about. I understand.
A distinction.
Throughout the debate, Ramaswamy resists. Hassan interrupts by holding his ground, refusing to let Hassan's questions divert his focus from advocating for broader electoral reform when Hassan attempts to highlight potential contradictions in Ramaswamy's views on election integrity and former President Trump's role in the 2020 election. Ramaswamy deflects by emphasizing his commitment to meaningful reform rather than adherence to any partisan agenda. He frames his stance as a practical approach to restore public trust in elections, underscoring that his concerns lie with strengthening the voting process overall by steering the conversation back to policy over personalities. Ramaswamy portrays himself as a candidate who prioritizes substantive nonpartisan solutions to divisive issues.
Yes, on December 31st, when the application for the scholarship was that October. Mehdi, you're wasting your time on childish details in October of that year when I applied for that scholarship. And it was, well, guess what? The bonuses that a hedge fund pays, and it's a shame that, again, you don't have to be an expert on this, but if you're going to spout out, you better know something about it. People pay at a hedge fund the bonuses at the end of a year, and on December 31st, that's when I was paid. I applied for the scholarship that September, and I did not grow up in a wealthy family.
Vivek, you made more money the previous year.
I made $200,000 pre-tax or whatever it was.
No, you didn't.
And you know what?
No, you didn't. You're now telling flat. In 2009,
you have my tax returns in front of you. I don't remember what I made in 2009.
In 2009, you made $650,000. In 2010, you made less, $450,000. So the argument that you only made the money pre the scholarship, so now we're bringing tax into it. We've been using gross numbers.
Absolutely.
Vivek, you're wrong on this. Go back to check your tax returns.
$50,000 obviously makes a big difference.
And then you accepted a Soros scholarship for $50,000 when you didn't need it.
Well, you know what the fact is, Mehdi, is $50,000 did make a big difference to me back then. And anybody who has a few $100,000 in the bank is going to take $50,000 without strings attached. Take the scholarship. But my question for you is, why on earth are you, as an intelligent person interested in politics, obsessing over a 24-year-old $50,000 scholarship?
I'm interested in truth,
beneath you. We have a country to fix.
That you wear. I'm interested in truth.
And Mehdi, that's why I released 20 years. Mehdi, that is why I released 20 years of tax records. Tell your friends in the Biden administration to do the same thing. Tell your Democrat candidates to do the same thing.
We've gone over time.
We're breaking precedents, and I think it is pathetic. I just think it is sad and pathetic that that we have important issues to talk about for the future of a country, and you're talking about a $50,000 scholarship in 2010 to go to Yale Law School when I was 24. This is pathetic, and this is why nobody trusts you guys.
It is pathetic in your view, but you paid a Wikipedia editor who then removed it. So clearly it's something you didn't want people to read about. Last question, because we've gone over time.
Who also said I was born in India. Who also said I was born in India and misspelled and got my wife's name wrong. So yes, we actually need to correct facts when people are playing.
Raises the issue of Ramaswamy's acceptance of $1.50, 000 scholarship funded by a Soros affiliate organization, questioning how this aligns with Ramaswamy's public opposition to affirmative action. Hassan suggests that accepting such a scholarship contradicts Ramaswamy's stance, implying a conflict between his financial decisions and his stated beliefs. Ramaswamy responds by clarifying that he received the scholarship purely based on merit and financial need when he was younger, not because of any ideological alignment with George Soros or his policies. He dismisses Hassan's focus on the scholarship as a petty attempt to create controversy, arguing that it detracts from the pressing national issues that should be the center of political debate. What do you think about the heated debate in today's video? Let us know in the comments.